Hello, good morning, our dearest gentle viewers. You are welcome to the show. You're watching Focus on Parliament here on Civic Space TV, and I am your host, Harris Akampurira. On this special edition of Parliament, we shall evaluate the performance of Parliament for its second session as they look forward to beginning the third session. And to do this very important work, I have an eminent panel composed of very able leaders in various capacities. Gentlemen and ladies, you're most welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, so I'll do the honors. On my immediate left is Honorable Osegge Angelina, who is the former woman MP for Soroti District. You're most welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Next is Counsel Jeremiah Keyamwanje, who is a city lawyer and a Lord Councillor at Kampala Capital City Authority, and also a member of the National Unity Platform. You're most welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Yes. And last but by no means least is Agnes Kirabo, who is the Executive Director of Food Rights Movement. Is that correct?
Food Rights
Alliance.
Yes, Food Rights Alliance. You're most welcome, Agnes.
Thank you and good morning, viewers.
Yes. Before we delve into the show, this week the nation has been grappled by very sad news. We had the heinous attack, a very tragic moment on the 16th day of June 2023, where the ADF rebels, so we are told, attacked and killed 42 people in Impondwe, including 38 students of Rubihira Secondary School. It's very sad indeed. We would like to send our sincere condolences to the bereaved families and the community of Kasese. May the soul of those who have departed rest in eternal peace.
Amen.
Honorable, let me start with you. Are we safe? What do you think about our state of security as a nation, our national security as a nation?
Thank you so much. That is a very broad question, simple as it sounds. When you talk about security in this country, I think with what is happening compared to where we are coming from, at some point we felt like, yes, there was a community that used to say at least to Katulo. I don't know whether that still can apply today. A colleague was just sharing and trying to assess how much we have heightened personal security, the way public officers are secured. When you hear all these wheels on the roads, whether in traffic or whatever, it tells you a lot. It tells you a lot. I think we are afraid of ourselves. That is number one, because when you find a public figure, even going to a place like church or any function or any, however small the function is, the security is like you are going into a terrorist.
It's like a war zone.
Yeah, like a war zone. Like there is a terrorist atmosphere. It's terrible. I think that there is a problem. Whatever the cause is, we can't say we are secure. We can't say you're secure because you cannot know when something is going to hit you. And when you look at the reasons as well, most times are not clear, especially in the recent past. So I think there's something that we need to look into more seriously and more deeply to consider why we are at this point in this time. I would think that we are actually not secure. Yeah.
Counsel Jeremiah, the Honorable Uganda on Parliament after the presentation of a report on the Kasese attack by the Minister for Defense, he actually revealed that the collective amount of money we spend on security and defense amounts to about 6 trillion. With this allocation, what has gone wrong? I mean, it's attack after attack, one killed, the other killed. You know, our UPDF in Somalia, you know, the other day along Parliamentary Avenue, we had an Indian killed. Then we had also a minister killed by his own bodyguard. What has gone amiss, Jeremiah?
Thank you. In my view, there are two great errors. Maybe they may not be errors; they may be intentional. That this government has done over time. One is politicizing security agencies, right from appointment, performance of duties and budgeting, and to other aspects. And two, getting security agencies off their cardinal roles into roles that wouldn't be theirs. So now the entire security infrastructure takes their cardinal roles as secondary and everything else as first priority. The president has gone around the whole country pushing the armed forces into NADs, pushing them into construction of schools, and capturing all the contracts that would be for other people, for themselves. And lately, into abducting of citizens and torture and doing police work. And now the military has negated completely its roles. There is a lapse in command. Every big soldier in the country is rushing for money, wanting to be rich. So all this huge budget that the Honorable Semuju was talking about, it doesn't go into the right areas of the infrastructure of the street of the country. It simply goes deep into pockets of individuals. You can see the people, for example, who joined with the son of the president, General Muhoozi, they were in a hurry to become rich, like their masters before them.
Yes.
And finally, they are all very wealthy in a very short span of about 10 years. The wealth that their fathers made in 20, 30 years, they have made it in 10 years. So the expenditure goes to wrong channels, and it starts with the president, takes quite a big chunk for himself, for State House budget and all that, and then all the rest follow. So security has collapsed. They get the worst people and recruit them into security agencies. You go to a village and a thief, a rumamongara, somebody who is wrong, just because he supports NRM becomes a PISO, and then you hear he's a GISO, and then he's what? All that infrastructure is full of vagabonds, funny people from the villages who support NRM, people who have never worn even a proper shirt. They just recruit them because they are NRM and then give them very important offices. So if you recruit the worst in your security infrastructure, serious countries in their agencies like CIA, FBI, what, they recruit the best university graduates. But Museveni recruits the worst failures because of family connections, because of political connections. So if you have a system like that, how can it perform? You remember when Kaihura was here, he had this bandit group called Crime Preventers. It was full of thieves in every village. Every thief in a village was made a crime preventer.
Was it disbanded?
It was disbanded because of their politics. Yeah. And then they said they were put into a reserve.
Was it? And then the LDU, how did it?
Yes, they said they turned it into LDU, Army Reserve, something like that.
Okay.
But if you have such a fake system, how can you even speak about security? You go to, for example, Somalia, and you get the most incompetent people to command. You take them through ranks haphazardly, you give them command, and then, because for Somalia's incident, it was a command lapse. Somebody packed soldiers there for a very long time. They started prostituting, they started drinking, they got used. Instead of collecting military intelligence, intelligence was collected from their side. And they were attacked, and many of our young people were killed there. In Nikasese, they went into the Congo. They have been on social media broadcasting how they have attacked ADF, only to find ADF on our side of the border. You can imagine, and they have barracks stationed there, military wear, picked up soldiers with all types of ranks, that they are chasing ADF, and then ADF is inside our borders. So the entire infrastructure of security has collapsed. Now every soldier does what they want. Whoever yields a gun, It actually, in the past, we used to talk about the gun census. So people who don't have guns, I don't know. Whoever has a gun now does what he wants.
All right. Thank you so much, Jeremiah. Agnes, the president, during the State of Nation address, he assured the country that Uganda is an island of peace, and actually invited investors to come and enjoy the peace and stability in the country. Speaking as an ordinary Ugandan citizen, do you feel that what the president is actually reflected in the day-to-day realities of a Ugandan?
The issue of security in Uganda, there is one thing to say that Uganda is an island of peace. But then later on in another paragraph, the same person actually tells the nation that under his command, incompetent people were deployed in Somalia because that is his command. He's the absolute commander. He confesses. But Uganda and the people of Uganda are very interesting people because we don't listen to details. We move on so fast, we are so emotional. I just wish to remind the president that we find it very difficult as lay people to believe him anymore. He cannot convince us that Uganda is an island of peace when a bodyguard can shoot his boss and a boss who is a high rank official in the army, and all of the drama that was staged in that place of Chanja, that is so difficult to believe. And then a Sumbusa vendor says how there is a whole, what should I say, a camp in the neighborhood of the minister, but the shooting takes place and there is no single response to that. And then somebody starts walking with a gun shooting and telling people, please go away, I don't have a problem with you. And there is no single response. Mr. President, that is not the army that we are taking pride into. Look at the case of Kasese. Let us look at the case of Kasese, and the three things that I can account have happened in Kasese. Look at the force that was used that ended up into the arresting of the Msinga Werenzururu. Where did it go after that? Look at the force. I'm talking as a normal Ugandan who sits in my living room and watch news. Look at the force in Kasese that was used to arrest Nyanzi. Is he Kunga?
Yeah.
Kunga.
Chairman Nyanzi.
Chairman
of
Nyanzi.
NUP.
Yes. Who had gone to open
An office.
a party office. And we saw the force. And you ask yourselves, what can this government tell the people of Uganda over what happened in Kasese? So, Mr. President, Uganda is an island that is not at war, but we are not at peace. We move in fear. Everybody can be abducted any time. Everybody can be shot at any time. You know, the kind of personal investment we are making in personal security. If we had invested that money, we would be making returns and contributing to the national coffers. We are changing padlocks, screaming padlocks, bagala proofs, sticks, jembes, dogs, cameras. Can you imagine all the time we are encouraged as individuals to put surveillance cameras on our what? on our homes. So everybody is very, very worried. But also, secondly, people are not sleeping because of that fear, but also the economic insecurity, but also the food insecurity. So people are hungry, they are insecure in the stomach, they are insecure in the pocket, they are insecure even within the environment. So there are so many things that have actually put to turbulence and doubt the president when he makes that statement. Again, Somalia, incompetent people. Kasese is a very interesting one. The Minister of Education hurriedly comes out to tell us that the school had internal wrangles and conflict. And then UPDF comes and tells us it is ADF. But the same UPDF, we've been spending on them in Congo, and they've been telling us, we touched them, we found the place very warm, they had just left it, you know?
Before investigations are complete.
They are in Congo. They are coming to tell us that while we are waging war in Congo, we are actually living it. It makes it very difficult, but also to believe. And I think the president, as the commander-in-chief, needs to go back to the drawing board.
Thank you. Honorable Osegge, before we delve into the assessment of Parliament, from what I gather, is it fair to assess the UPDF in the light like you have? You know, previously we've been told that UPDF is one of the most professional armies on the African continent. Very, very thorough, very effective. Should we doubt them? Should we, give upon them just because of a few specks of insecurity?
Well, thank you. I think there are a lot of things that have culminated to what we see today, the performance of UPDF and the trust of the public. Number one, a colleague said the way of recruitment in this country. Who joins the UPDF? And when they are trained, how are they, what training do they get? It is about indoctrinating them into the ideology of NRM more than training them as security personnel. I think many of them are poorly trained. It is just a few that have gotten the best training, and those are not the ones that go to the war front. Like the recent case of Somalia, the boys that died in Somalia, I was told they are basically from 1 or 2 regions. Because they are the ones who are still joining and remaining at certain levels. Now, others are picked soldiers. When even they go to the war front, they go and stay in hotels.
Do we know these 2 regions?
They were not mentioned.
All right. But we can fairly suspect.
we can suspect. It was mostly east and north. I didn't hear of anybody beyond the Nile. Yeah. So, but that aside, when we recruit people, do we recruit them because they are competent? Do we give them the ample training to perform a job, or we recruit them for our own personal intentions? For example, when you look at the UPDF today, their allegiance is to the commander-in-chief, which is not wrong as army people, as soldiers, but it is not about the NRM.
True.
Because where you find UPDF, police, or whatever security personnel, it is about NRM. What is done in NRM is correct, and their role is to protect anybody called NRM, anything called NRM. It's not, again, a national security force. That is why you find during elections, we went for elections in Serere, the by-election in Serere. It was very, very interesting. The UPDF were the ones driving their vehicles to carry to carry ballots and ticking them and coming and replacing them on the polling station, bringing another ballot box and taking away the empty one. And now recently in Bukedea, I was told by 7 they had ticked all the ballot papers. When the citizens came to tick the ballot papers, there were no more ballot papers.
People had
They had
voted
been
that in the
ticked
night.
by
They had
UPDF?
voted, yeah. I'm not sure, but mostly
You don't
security
know.
personnel.
Yeah.
It was security
But
personnel.
this is what we understand is that now our elections are mainly characterized by heavy presence of the UPDF.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you don't train people, and then the payment, for the longest time that I have known, while I was in Parliament, we tried to lobby for good payment for these people, because someone who holds a gun, you give him to guard someone who is earning millions, who is eating well, sleeping well. And yet when they go back home, their families are in Mama Ingia Pole. They are not sure of the next meal. Their children are not going to school. What do you expect? What do you expect? So these people are poorly paid. They are poorly accommodated. And the way they are generally treated is not what is it's not right. I would say generally it's not right, whether police or the army. But as far as training is concerned, I know that a few years ago, the person who started professionalizing the UPDF was General Mugisha Muntu, and his record was good. At that time, there was a lot of discipline. There was everything that you'd think of a good army. But shortly after that, now it is not. They cover up issues instead of following up. Somebody has committed a crime, just because his allegiance is to the powers that be. You cover the crime instead of bringing out and punishing the person for the crime committed. So all those things, first of all, make people break the law with impunity. There is no fear of punishment. You know that when you are close to somebody, you have a godfather somewhere or a godmother, you'll be secure in spite of what you've done. See people who shot people in cold blood. Kanyamunyu shot somebody. Kanyamunyu. And
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken, well, I went to Chitalia and found him there. But the guy was living, apart from putting on this prison uniform, there is nothing to show that he's a prisoner. You know, so that kind of thing brings about lack of commitment to the job, lack of dedication, but also thinking that now who cares? I mean, God for us all. You care for yourself, and then God cares for us all. There is no commitment, because there is no commitment from the leadership towards them for their betterment, for their upkeep, and that kind of thing. So I think that there is a lot that needs to be done. We cannot, we blame them because humanly, the Bible, for me, I believe in the Bible. The Bible says that as you're serving men, serve men as you serve God. When I'm serving you, I see God in you. So I serve you with all diligence, with all commitment. But that is not human nature.
Yes.
They will want to benefit.
First.
Mfunamuchi, yeah, what do I gain from this? So if they see they don't gain anything, they will go wayward, and they will not do what they are supposed to do. So we need to look into it. How we recruit them, how we maintain them, how we behave. If they see that we do not respect the law, they too will not respect the law. If we exercise favoritism, they know they can also benefit from it. There is no straight line. So we need to cut out our coat and ensure that this is the way to go. There shouldn't be a double way about it.
Fair enough. Counsel Jeremiah, you know, the president, after the attack in Kasese, he spoke to the nation, and he said that the attack was successful partly because of a lapse in intelligence. And then, you know, after the attack on the UPDF camp in Somalia, he told us that the main cause was corruption. And yet we think that he is supposed to offer leadership and iron out these vices.
Yes. There's intelligence, but there's a word military intelligence. So there's this organization called Chieftainess of Military Intelligence, CMI,
yes,
which is supposed to train soldiers in intelligence gathering. Military intelligence gathering means when you camp somewhere, you must know what is happening in a radius of about 200 kilometers away from you, informally and formally.
Yes.
So military
And
intelligence,
linking up with civilians.
you create a system that gives you intelligence. Now, this agency, which is supposed to train people in that job, has abandoned it, and it is into civilian work. I don't know how many times I've been caught to rescue people who have been arrested by CMI. Civilians, petty people. Somebody just has a small chibanja rango, he's just having a disagreement with his neighbor, and CMI comes and is the one now arresting. Sometimes they trump a few charges saying maybe he has a pistol which he doesn't have, but sometimes they don't even go that far. It is simply chibanja, but CMI is the one doing the arrest. So they take the person to Mbuya, they beat, they do what. Meanwhile, they are supposed to be training people who are supposed to do intelligence gathering on the battlefronts, and they're not doing that. They're not bothered. So when you hear that there's a lapse of even for Somalia, there is a lapse in intelligence. Incompetence, but if you break the incompetence down, it goes into lapse of intelligence is the first thing. On a battlefront, if you do not have intelligence, you're not supposed to be where you're supposed to be. Because intelligence is the one which tells you sit here, eat here, drink here, don't. So for both Congo, for both Kasese and Somalia, the issue is lapse in intelligence, and it goes back to command, it goes back to the entire collapse of the military and security system. So for Kasese in particular, I have two issues. First of all, I don't believe that it was ADF. I don't know, the whole nation has been made to believe that it was ADF.
Yeah.
But the military has been broadcasting videos of ADF fighters speaking for the last about 2 years. They are speaking Islamic language, they are speaking Uganda. But these ones were speaking French. They were very strange. The ADF, we have seen the clips, the same clips that the military has been sharing, the UPDF has been sharing. We have been seeing them heavily armed, well equipped, well dressed. These ones we saw look like village bandits holding machetes. So the UPDF was beaten by machete-wielding bandits, thieves, common thieves who were looking for posho. And this is how poor the army has become, because it has abandoned its cardinal role and it's into something else.
Wow.
So we cannot say we have a safe country.
You know what's painful hearing from you is that there are three common vices: corruption, nepotism, then the other one is what? Incompetence. Have we been eaten to the core, Agnes, that we cannot self-salvage our own nation? Is there still hope for Uganda?
I think the last institution we have lost on evidence is the army. And this is the last institution.
Yeah.
And slowly, by and by, we have been losing institution. We have been talking about the weakness of our institution in delivering services. We started, and every institution we say it is not delivering, the president creates a division or a department or a desk in the president's office. We started with saying the health sector is not performing and what, we got something. Agriculture, things are not happening, we got
Operation Wealth Creation now.
Of recent, they were saying corruption. The president himself was saying, to deal with this corruption, I'm going to create something in my office. When everybody was crying over land and what and land, but despite the fact that we have a Ministry of Lands, a lands something was created under his office. So to some of us who have been very keen on the issues of service delivery in this country, at least personally, I had hope that at least for one institution that traditionally has been in the president's hands, that is the security and the army, things are still happening. But I got so concerned, and I continuously get concerned when the president keeps giving us such excuses. And of course, he's the commander-in-chief, is the fountain of honor. nobody can tell him lie down flat because that is your jurisdiction. You get, you're the one in charge, and you're coming to tell us you see it is corruption, you see it is incompetence, you see somebody slept on duty, you see the breakdown in intelligence. I have heard people saying that for quite some good time the president has been fed on wrong intelligence. I have had people alleging like that, the people and cook stories. And that is why so many people that are happening where Counsel Jeremiah is saying, people are fond of giving wrong intelligence, but it has finally caught up with us. So I think, fellow Ugandans, and starting from our leaders, we should rethink and strengthen our institutions. If we have lost the army, you tell me which organization, which company, which institution, where we can confidently say, earlier before we started the show, he was asking me about my position on GMOs. And I told him no. And one of the cardinal reasons why I said no, because we don't have a best practice of any competent institution here to deal with anything sophisticated.
Exactly.
Nothing. We do not have experience. We don't have a success story. We do not have a case. So it is quite very unfortunate that the commander-in-chief comes out and in a way confesses that to the public.
Concedes failure.
Yes, concedes the failure, because if you're commanding a force of the UPDF that we knew, and you're the commander-in-chief, and you come out and say, I deployed incompetent people.
He's judge.
And then the next day you say, you see, even my intelligence system broke down, so that is why this one happened. So I think to the people that have had the privilege of being closer to the leadership of this country, we really need to help the commander-in-chief to rethink. Everything needs rethinking now, and we get back. Otherwise, we are at a destruction rate now. We are destroying, and we are going backwards. And it is going to be very unfortunate and very difficult to rescue.
I agree with you. I mean, I think this country needs a grand reset. Yeah, but moving on and away from the state of security, let's shift gears to looking at the performance of our parliament. And I want to ask you, Osegge, 2 days ago, the parliament commenced their third session. And the Speaker of Parliament said that her goal is to make this parliament a people-centered parliament. For the benefit of our viewers, you've been in parliament before. I have to confess, you are one of my best parliamentarians. I think you're very vocal and pained me so much when you didn't return. But I didn't know that Jeremiah had contributed to your non-returned parliament. We shall talk about that later on a cup of coffee. Yeah, but given your expansive knowledge of parliament, can you please, for the benefit of viewers, give us a brief overview of the modus operandi of parliament, especially the parliamentary committees?
Well, I'm not sure that it's still operating the way I knew. Although from the outlook, it looks like the systems may be the same, but the real modus operandi, I think, has tremendously changed. Parliament does its work through committees, the various committees, sectoral accountability committees, and sometimes the Speaker has the prerogative to set up a committee for certain situations, emerging situations. Those are called, Jeremiah, what are they called?
Are they ad hoc?
They're ad hoc committees, but just set up for a purpose, for a season. So,
like the Mabati one.
Is there a Mabati committee?
No,
speaking about Mabati, why haven't we had a quote on Mabati? Was it there?
Let us allow Honorable to proceed.
No, we shall come back.
They took individuals to court, and
I just
think
talked about it in plenary in the way
Yeah.
of a cup of tea and something. It wasn't.
they refused the report to be produced.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Oh,
The report was done, and then they said no, it has been overtaken by events.
Yeah.
Since courts have come in,
Yeah.
the judiciary has come in, it is going to be sub judice.
Subjudice.
But was there ever a parliamentary committee on Mabati?
No, I think the speaker didn't allow it.
Okay. You know why. Please proceed.
So I think that Uganda is at a loss. Uganda is at a loss. What is written in the law books concerning the role of parliament is no longer what we see. If we see it, it is like what the Bible says, that they talk about me with their lips, but in their hearts, their hearts are
deep
far from me. You know, we are doing things because they are written in the law, but as far as the impact and the output to the effect that it changes the lives of people, it affects our people positively, I think is very minimal. First of all, when you look at the way members debate, there is no meaningful debate you can have in 1 minute.
Yes.
Before you say, Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to present, the 1 minute is
seconds
over.
have gone.
Yeah. So you cannot make sense. If you went and read the Hansard today, if you're a research student, I don't think you can make out much out of it, except probably when they are presenting committee reports, which are also most times are past omnibus. There are very few reports that are debated. And that begs the question. So what are MPs doing? How are the sentiments or the ideas of their people brought into the national circles, and how do they affect policy? Now, when committees do their work, they are also largely caged in. They are not supposed to go beyond certain areas. For example, you cannot talk about the powers that be negatively, or else you'll be shut down in parliament. You are not even allowed to comment on the president. If you do, you will not speak. Now, what kind of parliament is this? And these are supposed to be representatives of the people. I would think that the freedom of members of parliament to speak would inform policy in whatever area of government. And if I were the president or anyone in leadership, I would desire to hear what comes out of parliament and use it as a basis to proffer policies or to give solutions to situations. Now, even to belong to an ad hoc committee, I've seen over time, it is the same people. If there is a situation, it must be particular members of parliament. There are around 5 of them, and nobody else gets into that. And so you'll find there are many members of parliament
Maybe
who are
they
not
the
being
most
useful.
incompetent?
I don't know, they're competent or incompetent.
Okay.
Considered competent.
Okay.
Probably, but also maybe they speak the same language. They understand the language they speak with the powers that be, with the appointing authority. So the same thing that has affected all the other institutions, all public officers, is also affecting parliament.
Okay.
It is no longer an institution where you speak out of conviction, but you speak out of fear, fear of being reprimanded, fear of losing your buttered bread. You speak with fear of being, accursed, like sidelined when it comes to the table. So there is no more truth. Sincerely, me, I see there is no more truth. It is just about filling the space and fulfilling what the law says, but not effectively.
Honorable, you seem to allude to the loss of independence, if I may so call it, of the parliament as being the root cause of all the mess or perceived mess that is going on. But is this a problem parliament or the problem of the population that actually constituted the parliament the way it is?
It is all linked up. But once you come to parliament, first of all, the way people come to parliament matters. If somebody has come to Parliament, like he found himself one morning and the next day he's in Parliament, he's not. There was no intention. There is no agenda. There is no focus. That kind of person has nothing driving them. So the way somebody comes to Parliament determines how they are going to present themselves in Parliament or whom they are going to represent. Yes, the public is to blame partially, but the public is just circumstantial. It is they find themselves in certain circumstances and they are trying to survive. They are trying to survive. They say because these are the ones who have, like the Jeremiahs, gave soap, they gave sugar, they gave and so because this is a poor population, they are not sure of the next meal. When you give them 1,000, they say, oh, okay, this one has given me, at least this one has given me 1,000, so I'm going to vote them. Now, where you are taking them, you don't know, it's not about the 1,000. It's about standing for you. It's about standing for your children. It's about standing for the future. So, I don't know what to say, but partially it's the problem of society, but also members of parliament. If they came there and they know why they are there, and nobody puts you at gunpoint to say, if you don't stand on this position, we are going to shoot you. You know, it's about being satisfied and being confident in your own skin. If you come to parliament and you are not confident in your own skin, you are not sure about yourself, you are going to be tossed around by any wind that comes. If it's about money here, you'll lean there because you want to get some. If it's about being securing your position, you will lean there because that is what you desire. So there is nobody standing for the truth, standing for what is right, standing for the people.
Agnes, let me bring you in. Honorable Angelina seems to suggest that the majority of parliamentarians lack an independent voice. And she also seems to, suggest, and I mean, we can get this insinuation from a lot of public debates, that the source of that is the way the members of parliament are elected. Some group goes somewhere, picks a lot of money, and after picking that money, they use the money to win an election and they come to parliament, and therefore they owe allegiance to the source of that money. Do you agree with her analysis? And if you do, where does one, I understand that you work with an NGO, where does one begin to bring about change, to disrupt this kind of negative cycle?
Not so long ago, there was a meme that was making the rounds in social media, and that meme stated that when you find a country where its politics pays more than its industry, you just know that that country is in very great trouble. I actually saved it. I tend to go back and reflect on it.
Please repeat it for our viewers. It sounds interesting.
That when you find a country where its politics pays more than its industries, that country is in very much or great trouble.
How powerful. That's the situation of Uganda.
Do you know the cost of becoming a member of parliament?
No, I don't.
The financial cost, the moral cost, the dignity cost, it is a life and death. It's a life and death. I actually respect the members of parliament. I respect the politicians of this country. I honor you. And in that regard, to me, you're really honorables. Let me tell you, you must have a thick skin. You must be made of not flesh, but metal, not even wood. Metal. Don't talk about it. It's terrible. It's terrible. And that process alone, even ruins the intentions of those that would competently use this space to meet its obligation and mandate.
Yeah.
The other thing is that Parliament is part of a bigger governance problem. In this country, we are overgoverned. Overgoverned. You go to the entire district, there is only one district health officer at the district, one agriculture officer. But how many politicians? On every sub-county, on every parish, on every town council. That one pushes me to the other meme. When your politics pays more than your industry.
Yeah.
When I was in school, so many years ago, primary school, they used to ask us the main economic activity of Uganda, and would even mention the main cash crops. Today, if you ask the main economic activity of Uganda is politics.
Wow.
So it is a cash cow. It is a cash cow, and it is only the brave. And I'm using that word carefully. Those people are very brave. You can't go through what they are going through. From being belittled, to being insulted, to involving your family, to getting your personal life, to, all of that besides the money. So now we get into the House, which is a sacred place,
Yes.
the lawmaking place, and we are having it densely populated. So
Agnes,
do they have the time?
You're going to hold it there for a minute. We are going to take a very short commercial break. And when we return, we shall pick it up right from there. But thank you very much. Stay with us, our viewers. You're watching Focus on Parliament here on the Civic Space TV.
Digital rights are those human rights and legal rights that allow individuals to access, use, create and publish digital media or to access and use computers, other electronic devices and telecommunication networks. Digital rights include a right to freedom of expression, information and communication through technology, a right to privacy and data protection, a right to credit for personal works, a right to universal and equal digital access, a right to identity, a right to anonymity, a right to be forgotten, and a right for protection of minors, among others. The state's digital rights are frequently violated through various unfair actions, for example, blockage of websites and social networks, theft of credentials, unauthorized use of people's data for personal gain, privacy intrusion, online censorship, arrests and intimidation of online users, internet blockages, and the proliferation of laws and regulations that undermine the potential of technology to drive social, economic, and political development worldwide. It is hence every citizen's responsibility to respect rights of other digital users and to speak out or report to the responsible parties when one's rights are violated.
Welcome back. Thank you, our dear gentle viewers, for staying with us. You are watching Focus on Parliament here at Civic Space TV. And with me, I have Kirabo Agnes, I have Jeremiah Keamanji, and Honorable Angelina Osegge. We are assessing the performance of Parliament. Please do join the conversation by following us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at Civic Space TV. Agnes, please, let's continue with the analysis.
Yeah, and you see, I just want to conclude this with just two things. Number one is that we are losing the systems to prepare people for leadership. That's another problem. So while we are all running and racing to go to that cash cow, there is no system whatsoever that is preparing people for leadership of any form in this country. I was told competently that Uganda Management Institute was established to brush civil servants into management. Now everybody walks in and walks out with the postgraduate diploma, take it where, take it how, take it where. So we have lost the systems that are preparing people. And sometimes I sit back and laugh. I hear really very seasoned, high-ranking people saying, that one doesn't have experience in leadership. And I wanted to ask them, for you, if you have any experience, where did you get it from? When we do not have a system that prepares people for leadership of any form. Maybe the churches are still struggling, the traditional churches, I don't know. But we are having a vacuum in leadership. And that one, people go there, just like we go to church, Jangunga Boli, you understand? And they get in there. And the other issue as an employer is that when you recruit an employee, you're supposed to create an enabling environment for that employee to perform, depending on the circumstances in which that employee is supposed to perform. We need to ask ourselves, is our parliament creating an enabling environment for the members of parliament to perform their cardinal four roles? Again, when the president was last addressed, I think that's the last physical address he has given to this country. He also commented and stopped members of parliament from going into communities to deliver services. Okay? And I was like, okay, are we not waking up so late? So, as an employer, the country Uganda is employing members of parliament. And you're employing an employee to deliver 1,000,001 outputs, but can only work 1 minute a day. Okay? And even if you give them 1 minute a day, that whole flock cannot come on the floor to use one minute. So just like Jeremiah said before, when you create redundancy in your workforce, human beings are never redundant. They will engage themselves in something somewhere. You get? So when we have created a lot of redundancy. If what I hear is true, that it is a jungle of the survival for the fittest. So the most fit get on the committees, the most fit get on the floor, the most fit get on the ad hoc committees, the most fit go for the trips, the most fit, it was very interesting listening to mourners in the late Honorable Kataru Woma's funeral. And somebody is there narrating to this country, and we can be very serious, saying how they moved with Honorable Kato to Speaker's office, and the Honorable Kato said, me, I have come here to tell you I came to eat, and I see people eating. So I'm here, my Honorable Speaker, to tell you I have come, that I must belong to a committee, and I must travel. So I was like, okay, is that exactly what is happening? That members of parliament have to go to the Speaker's chamber. So anyway, I think before we judge the employee, we need to look at the employer and really determine whether, one, the employer was ready for the employee. And then two, if they were ready, whether the employee is also conforming to those standards, and then we look for a mechanism to equitably and competently measure and where need be condemned. But I wish to say, in a country where politics is paying than any other industry in the economy, you get to this show and start debating these issues.
Thank you very much. Jeremiah, what I gather from Agnes is that Parliament as an institution, as one of the key institutions of government, we are told, from constitution and political theorists that government is an aristocracy of knowledge, meaning that there are certain minimum competencies that you should possess before you. I don't know if A-level. I don't know if A-level is enough in this.
Equivalent.
All its equivalent.
A-level or the equivalent. That's our qualification. But I don't know if O-level is still enough benchmark or standard for measuring competence of parliament. But what I gather from Agnes is that because of the landscape of our politics, because of the business of our politics, looks like we are attracting a group of parliamentarians that may not necessarily, I'm not sure, not necessarily competent to perform their constitutional mandate. What's your reflection on that, Jeremiah?
I think that sometimes, of course, Parliament should be a very big entity in a functioning democracy. So, but sometimes I have a feeling that we over-exaggerate what Parliament should be. When I had a few years to interact with Parliament, I wrote a paper from my observation that it seems like every parliamentary decision is a mere persuasion of the president, because I didn't see anything that Parliament can do and can stand on its own. And we can argue about that until daybreak. But there must be an entity in the country where people think or believe and have the trust that sane people will sit, make decisions that influence their lives, and those decisions are well researched, well understood, and well perceived. And that should be Parliament. Unfortunately, in our case, it is a place of political stabilization for the current regime and nothing else. In 2011, we were at Makerere, and then we held a conference on the political economy. And then all these professors, some even flew in from wherever and came to present at the conference. And President Museveni came and presented a very interesting paper. Somewhere in his paper, a professor stood up and commented about gerrymandering. Gerrymandering is this problem the honorables have been talking about of having, which causes the problem of so many people speaking for 1 minute in the House of Legislature. So people were saying, why do we create all these administrative units and create a very big governance infrastructure that is not necessary? So he said, speaking as a rebel, when people are not given opportunities to be in political positions, they go and form small rebel groups. So to avoid small rebel groups, what you do, you allow them to have so many positions to run for. And they are busy filling up those positions. And you suffer financially, but you know that they will not go and fight you in the bush. Because when they are not busy, when we were not busy under UPC, we went to the bush.
So in essence, he says it's okay to have political corruption.
It is his system of governance to have political corruption. In his DNA, political corruption helps him to survive so many other things.
That's what he said in the presentation.
In a public, what they call a public lecture.
Wow.
In a public lecture, the president said that. So if the president says that, the point is, all the members of parliament, all of us people who are in the political spaces and governance spaces, we have been blackmailed, we have been brought into this conundrum that is created intentionally. He will not listen to the debate of cutting constituencies, reducing constituencies. He will instead listen to the debate of increasing them. And then he will say, people are begging me, people are begging me. If they are begging you, if they chose you to lead them, if they chose you to lead them, why don't they leave you to lead them? Why do you bring up the begging element all the time? So he has created all these menace. So people go to parliament, and then you have the sentiments of Honorable Kataluwam of let's eat, we came to eat, because there's nothing they see they can achieve in that space. What I think this government needs, if it would happen that we have a redo of the country, we would have a parliament which is maybe now he has created even so many districts, but at least at district level.
Traditional regions.
Yes. Traditional regions, return traditional regions, have the traditional districts back maybe for representation. You can give them more numbers of parliament, but a parliament of about 100 people, 200 people is sufficient for a country like Uganda. But now, when you look at, for example, the current parliament and you look at the local governments have the same problem equally. It kills the entire spirit of what parliament should be doing. When members of parliament reach in parliament, they have to struggle for resources. They have to struggle for the eye of the speaker. Things that should be automatic. They have to struggle for attention of those who have Because most of our MPs are have-nots. You see, the problem is that people think that MPs have. But by the time a person finishes the campaign, he's a have-not, even if he had. I know many people become poor because of politics. He becomes a have-not. So he's struggling to fit in, to survive in that parliament. There is no way such a person can concentrate on the main course of the parliament. So it's something that the president and the NRM has set automatically to weaken systems further, to make everything a failure so that the presidency can stand out and continue to be the man of the day. And now you can see he is no longer even needing acts of parliament. He has gone into the system of presidential directives. Presidential directive on dust. Recently, he put out presidential directive on garbage collection in municipalities and towns councils. I hope you have seen it. He is going to put out presidential directives as small as even distribution of mosquito nets. So he doesn't need acts of parliament. He has killed, I don't know. So we are in autopilot, so to say. So I don't want to blame parliament. I don't want to blame honorable members of parliament or speaker of parliament. The system is dead. Now, when you have a speaker of parliament, I'm sorry to say, with the quality of our current speaker of parliament, the rot deepens. If you had a Kadaga who is an experienced member of parliament, seasoned politician, mature person even in the head, just maturity alone, and is a lawyer by training, a lawyer who has struggled through the ranks of the legal profession, he would fight back. That kind of person would fight back. But when you have my friend, Honorable Anita Mongo, who has gotten a favor from the president to become an MP, a favor to become a member of parliament, which she worked for by bribing people to support the president and so many other things. I don't want to speak much because words should be calculated in these days. But with the current of the speaker the parliament has, you don't have any person to fight back. Because I saw the Honorable Rebecca Kadaga in the previous parliament fighting back independence of parliament. There are times the government would frustrate her with refusing to give certificates of financial implication, and she would bypass it using the Article 74. She would get close to bypass it constitutionally still. When they try to stop, they don't bring a bill on the floor. She implores members of parliament to bring it as a private member's bill, and you could see that she's fighting back for the independence of parliament. Now, such people are nowhere. We have lost all the good speakers from Wapakabulo to Ayume to now Rebecca Kadaga, and now we have our dear friends whom we used to drink with in the pubs, speakers of parliament. So it is a terrible place to be, even for them who have power there. I don't want to blame anyone. It's a creation of the president.
But Counsel Jeremiah, speaking about the corruption by the president, and I mean, it's there in the debate for the members of the public and our viewers to judge for themselves. But time and time again, we see, more and more members of parliament shifting allegiance, not to opposition, but to the ruling party. I mean, just this week we saw the Honorable Mapinduzi shifting allegiance. He actually left the committee that had was the chair for PAC, right? Yes.
Local government.
Yes. Was it local government? Yes, PAC in local government. That's correct. And now he's the chairperson of public service under an arrangement with NRM. Why is opposition not attractive in parliament and outside?
And it's a very dangerous trend. It's a dangerous trend, and you see, this is a problem of, I don't know, mentorship or what. When politicians do not take that business they are in serious, they can create bigger problems. Crossing of floors, of course, Ojala is an independent member of parliament.
Yes.
But he has been known, the public knows him for an opposition stand. They don't know him for a government stand. Now he has shifted from his stand. An independent member of parliament has that leeway. But the challenge it does, that he is a person who is looked up to by many members of parliament. He might not know. I personally, I respect him a lot. But when he does that, it might make several other members of parliament think it's comfortable to cross floors. Crossing floors has ever put this country into a very serious political instability that took us about 20 years to recover from. That crossing of floors, members of parliament think is very simple, but because the ruling government can wake up one morning and buy all MPs from this side, they have the capacity. So just imagine if half of the opposition members of parliament crossed. What it means to the ordinary public.
Did he cross or just
switched allegiance?
Oh, okay.
And for him, I know that
It's a process now.
Yeah, I know that for him is an independent member of parliament. But I'm speaking about the example, the kind of freedom it might make other people think. Because Ojala is not an ordinary MP, he's an MP who commands respect. A small thing he does can make so many other people do it. So what I'm trying to say is, if you imagine now, I know that the Honorable Twa Kagabo, my member of parliament from Bukoto, is considering crossing. I know Kaziwe Bashir is already almost there. 3/4%. 3/4 of himself are already there. Or no, of course he has this 1/4 because there is a constitutional bar. But what I'm trying to say, the problem it creates, you saw how the public went to polls, especially here in Uganda and in the East. And they voted opposition overwhelmingly. They had hope that there is a last bridge we have to have that CACIV, some protection measure. Now, when you members of parliament sit in parliament and in that comfort of the AC of parliament just cross floors, if it ever happens, you make the public understand that there is no other place of protection they have. And once the public gets into that kind of thing, that kind of mentality, what you are rooting for the country is political instability, because everybody will say, I have to fight for myself. Now, once people get into I have to fight for myself, political instability. And this country has been there before because of crossing of floors. And we need to read our history very well. So members of parliament need to know that they are seated in a very, very unique places. Certain things should not be done.
Thank you very much, Jeremiah. Let me come back to you, Honorable Angelina. There is a political theory that society gets the leaders it deserves. In other words, that the leaders we get are a reflection of the society itself, the level of consciousness of that society. In other words, if Jeremiah claims that the Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament is not competent, then the Right Honorable is a reflection of that Parliament.
She's competent, but
if the Parliament is not competent,
she's
then
competent,
it is
but we have
reflection.
We have lost more competent speakers in the past. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, she's lesser competent. Is that what? Is that what you're saying? I know you don't want to be quoted, but assuming that, well, you get my argument, Honorable Angelina. So, as a national builder, and from your perspective as a member of the ANT, yes, the Alliance for National Transformation, another party that I respect so much, by the way. I think that you have fine men and women there. Where do you begin to reconstruct? I mean, Agnes talked about the national attitude where now our young people view politics as the main business, as the most profitable venture to go instead of going into productive sectors. So where do you begin to rebuild?
Well, first of all, I want to begin from the point of having members switch allegiance.
Yes.
In the workings of Parliament, I think it would be okay because Parliament is an independent institution. In a bid to make its work move better, it can be done, like allocating chairpersons of committees. It is not entirely wrong for an independent member or even an opposition member to head a sectoral committee. But because of the understanding now that we have, it looks like the ruling party owns those committees, but Parliament would have the prerogative to know who is more competent to do this. Like Mapenduzi comes from a local government background.
Yes.
So he understands that area much more. Now, when it comes to reconstructing, I think
But that would, sorry to take you a little bit back, that wouldn't be a problem if he had not been first at the NRM headquarters and signed.
In fact, he didn't have to go there.
Yes.
He didn't.
I mean, I
have to go.
agree in principle, the point you're raising, that the best leaders should head the committees if there wasn't a requirement for switching allegiance. And I think that's a point that Jeremiah is raising.
Yeah, because of the fears now, you have to show that you have come and you can share on the table. Otherwise, as Parliament, he could have done that, but didn't have to go to the NRM offices and stayed as the processes of Parliament, the procedure of Parliament.
Fair enough.
So, but we have abused all that. And so now it cannot happen in a normal way. When you talk about reconstructing what we are having to go through now, I think we should make politics less attractive. One time we made a proposal that, number one, as we reduce the numbers, we should give MPs targets. Yeah, we give them targets, and if somebody does not attain the target, there should be a midterm assessment, like it is done in the US, I think, and some of these other legislatures. There is a midterm assessment. How has the member of parliament performed? But because once a member comes in, they are assured of the 5 years. There are some people who will leave Parliament without saying a word, not even a maiden speech, not even introducing their names. But they are getting all the privileges. They have gotten everything that a member of Parliament is entitled to. So there is no. We should have some carrot and stick method, so as to get the service that we need.
Yes.
Now, to make Parliament, to make politics less attractive, we should also reduce on the categories of members of Parliament. You know, I know that now Uganda is 75% youth. Yeah, the largest population of Uganda is youth. But when you say you have youth, when you look at the youth representatives in Parliament, they are just there floating in the air. They are known as youth representatives, but they don't touch base with the youth of the country. There is no influence they have on the youth. Even debating for the youth, or I don't know, standing for the youth, it is hardly there. It is hardly there. So some of the things now we are having old people represented in Parliament. What workers represented? UPDF. Recently, the police was also saying we also need a representative. We have gone to a level where even witches, Mama Fina said they also need a representative in Parliament.
Even prostitutes.
Yes, prostitutes now want representation in Parliament. So you realize that people are not looking at actually what Parliament. They have lost the gist. They don't see the whole purpose of Parliament the way it's supposed to be. And so they think it's just about being there representing small enclaves. And when we went to representing even tribes, because constituencies were created according to tribes in some instances, like the Ik in Karamoja. It is basically representing an ethnic group. So you find the Batwa are not represented. Soon they will, because I don't know if they have anybody highly placed who can come and represent
There's
them
some
in
drama.
You see, so we have abused the systems so much so that people now don't see the value in it. But I think if we went back and made it less attractive, let somebody who comes into politics be someone who has been into the corporate world, maybe a retired civil servant. They are no longer looking for houses. They are no longer looking for money. They are no longer looking for a life they can serve. Because what we have now, why we cannot get a service, people are still looking to establish themselves. People are still looking to get their foot on the ground. And so they are looking for all these things. They are still at the stage of impressing somebody. Maybe looking for a wife, looking for a husband. You have to be impressive. But someone who has seen it all and they come, they will just serve. That's why when you look back, the likes of the Ayumes, the Wapakabulos, they had gone through that stage. And so they were out to serve the country. But now you have people who are directly out of university. They have never owned a car. They have never owned a house. They are still in their... They are looking at those things.
They have no experience at all.
They have no experience at all. No corporate experience. They even don't know how to... Just behavior itself is a problem. So we need to go back. One, know who must go to Parliament. And then Parliament is not a center for service delivery. We don't need all those numbers. It is a center for exchange of ideas, formulation of policies. You don't need thousands of people to formulate policy, you know. So where we need a lot of activity is down there at the local government. In fact, the best people should even be at the local government. I was urging my people in Sorota and saying, you people who are retiring, I was talking at a function someday, I said, you come and help us in the local government. But they fear to campaign. The political process, the campaigns are very rigorous, and you cannot do certain things when you have reached a certain level. So we are leaving politics now for people who are rogues, who have no name to protect, who can do anything just to get there. The moral standing is completely corroded. They don't care. So you find she was saying that the people who would otherwise get there, because they fear for their moral, for their name, they have made a name in other circles of leadership, in other areas of governance, probably life. They cannot just put their name in the mud and it is rolled in there, and somebody calls you names, somebody brings oh my God. It is difficult. So we are leaving it for people who are actually not supposed to be there, but because they are more daring, but they don't have a heart for service.
Let me come to you, Agnes. In Honorable Angelina's model of restructuring the parliament, we must make it less attractive to profit or business-minded people, and make it attractive to people who are more interested in exchanging ideas, developmental ideas. But at the same time, shouldn't we worry that if we make it less attractive, we could suffer the other problem, which is removing agency, because institutions need agents in order to run. Do you agree with the analysis? But also, I would like to pick your opinion on what you think we need to do in order to restructure or revitalize our parliament.
I want to start from the question you asked the Honorable, that a society gets the leaders it deserves. That's a very unfortunate theory, because you cannot go to the victim and victimize them more. It's quite very, very unfair. We have intentionally designed our leadership code that way, and we have designed the architecture in that format. Let me tell you, this country is not short of competent people. And by the way, if somebody was keen to know the level of brain drain this country is suffering now, we are losing so many competent people
But
to other countries. So the country is not short of competent people.
But Agnes, let me, sorry to push you a little bit back. You know, when you say that you disagree, for example, let's take the case of Kabale municipality.
I have not lived there.
We have a professor, full professor in Wagaba, one of the best economists in Augustine. Yes. He's one of the best economists in the country. He went and contested and he got less than 1% of the votes. And they went with someone completely different.
I have told you, and I know another constituency in Busoga. I think that is the Honorable Salam Masomba's constituency. She was contesting, and then I was working in Kamuli. I was having programs in Kamuli, and I would listen to how the people talk and the reasons they were giving for not voting Salam Masomba. They were saying in Rusoga, Katwe munafe atasoma munafe, that kind of thing. But it is the design, it is the architect. We have trapped our people into that at that level. We have even gotten cases where people are saying Jeremiah aliddeko aveyo and Angelina goes. And you know the whole issue is about goliddeko kati wumulako and we send another person.
Exactly. So that's the consciousness of our people.
No, it is not. They have been constituted into that. I need to ask you how much we are investing in civic education if we are doing any civic education. I'm a community person, I'm a psychologist, I work with the people. There is nothing as bad as managing a society that has lost hope, that has lost confidence, a society that has been stigmatized, a society that has been excluded. You get? Then they engage themselves in these other things because they are no longer really looking at things the way they would have looked at them. So many things are happening in this country, and not only in politics. You imagine people who come to church and they are asked to roll in the mud. Huh? You imagine and say, what is actually happening to the people in this country? And let me tell you, that's the duty of the leadership. You know what? We have an obligation genetically to prepare people that are going to come behind us to carry our heritage forward. And we are not doing that. Now, I don't agree with that. We have designed and trapped people into that, and we want to run away with the excuse that society gets the leaders, it does what? Okay. The society deserves the leaders that are going to transform. A society that had one to get two, one had two to get four. You know? That is what the society deserves, and we should not hide behind such theories. Now,
your thoughts on restructuring?
The restructuring and making, not only parliament, making our politics less attractive. When we made our politics more attractive, we weakened the civil service. And the civil service was the one that was supposed to deliver services. So the services are not delivered, and so, you know, we get into that category. You get? I agree. I have been in drafting certain documents. The moment you go beyond 3, council is here. The moment you go beyond 3 and you're working on that document, you have failed. So you cannot legislate and you're a flock of 1,000 and so. You get? Because also Parliament traditionally had a supportive structure. They had research, they had economists, they have the universities at their backup, and all. We have think tanks. That's why the EPRCs of this world were created in this country. You know what? To aid the legislative, the policy, but also the programming processes. But for me, even me here, I would have loved to drive that 300, is it 300 million vehicle?
200 million.
200. I would have dreamed to drive it, you know. We have to, one, limit the numbers. But now Jeremiah gave to this show that submission of His Excellency in the university. And you need to know that most of the things are done not by what is written down, but the spirits behind them. If we are going to salvage this country from the dens where it is now of leadership, we have to rethink. I'm telling you, going back to the traditional regions, because if I need issues of TESO, I don't need 1,000,001. Cindy, honorable. Yes, the people of Karamoja, the people of Ankole, the people of Chigeze, the people of Bunyoro, the people of Toro, the people of Acholi, West Nile and Lango, who is left, Buganda and Busoga, and we are done. So we are capable of doing this, but we have to create income, other opportunities for people to earn elsewhere. And they earn competently elsewhere.
Our time is fast spent. I'd like to bring in Jeremiah. But before I bring you in, Jeremiah, I would like you to clarify, Agnes, because it can be confusing to our viewers. When you say that we should make our politics less attractive, it could be contradictory in a way, you know. If you think about a participatory democracy. You want more and more citizens engaged in elective politics, engaged in accountability, in the demand of accountability.
Yes.
So in which sense
I'm doing that. Am I a member of parliament?
In which sense? Yes, that's why I want you to clarify that for our viewers. So
I'm doing that.
So that
I'm doing that, and that is what
do
I
more
was.
civic education.
They do more civic education. That the public is engaged.
Okay.
I hold government accountable. I participate. I go to parliament. I look at these budget documents. I look at the policy documents. I do all of that. But I'm not necessarily a member of parliament. And unfortunately, the public out there says, "Watch it away, Simba, oh," you know? And you're like, "Must I?" So we must tell people that actually participatory democracy doesn't necessarily mean that you must be a member of parliament, you must be a minister, you can participate in the governance of your country at the various levels. And we must create that participation to be meaningful. Not a showbiz. Real meaningful.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
And that is it.
Thank you so much. Let me bring you Jeremiah, and we are out of time. You have about 2 minutes to answer. I would like your comment, because when Agnes was answering the theory that society gets the leaders it deserves, I saw you shaking your head in a disagreement. So I would like your comment on that, but also would like a direct answer from you, emanating from the model proposed by Honorable Angelina, that we need to make, going to Parliament less attractive for wrong reasons. Would you support a proposal that we almost need to remove salary or remuneration and all these other privileges, luxurious privileges like cars, and make Parliament less about monetary than what we see now?
So for me, actually, I agree entirely that Parliament should be less attractive, so that all those who go there have gone there for what Parliament should be, not about the resources. But now, first of all, when you create small areas of representation, everybody looks at 300 people representing 3,000 people and says, "This is a small area, I can manage it." That's the first thing. A person, even if somebody was just a chairman of a village team of football, he can campaign and win because it's a small area.
It is a small area.
So the areas should be sizable, really. We should go back to the traditional counties we had, if possible. If we cannot manage, we should strike a balance. Most of the traditional sub-counties we had are now districts. Districts. So maybe we could make the districts the areas of representation. Secondly, the salaries should go down. I saw in the last parliament there was a fight between the executive and the legislature over who initiates a proposal for increment of parliamentary salaries. And of course, there's a court ruling on that. The parliament cannot initiate by itself. But I know in this parliament, they initiated a proposal to increase, and they went through with it. So, but also that happens because government is busy asking for supplementary expenditures. The executive is busy asking for supplementary expenditures. So Parliament says, now as you are asking for this, let's also give
us this.
So that's how it happens. But it also shouldn't be true that the Parliament increases its own salaries by itself. It should be the executive to propose increments for parliamentary salaries. The parliamentary salaries should be low as possible. And this should be the same even with other local governments.
Okay.
Local governments also should be equally at a low pace. I also want to agree with the Agnes here. It is leaders who transform society. So when leaders start saying that we are like you, therefore we have to behave like you, it is bad. So leaders are the ones with the cardinal role of transforming society. Societies have grown because certain leaders have stood up.
All right.
And changed.
Thank you very much. I would like to give each one of you an opportunity to give our viewers your last message, and we shall start with you, Agnes. In 30 seconds, really, our time is fast spent.
Yeah, I'm here to say that there is quite a lot of space. We need to innovate. There is still quite a lot of space that allows us to participate. We should not all rush and run for these elective positions. We can still serve our country better And I think we have a duty to reclaim our country, and we should find a way of doing it.
Thank you very much, Counsel Jeremiah.
Well, I want to thank our dear viewers for being on this, our program, Civic Space TV. I want to thank the management for this proposal. It's so hard now to have these matters debated. If you had a space and you want to render it for these matters to be debated, you would think twice. So I want to thank the team for the initiative. I think that as a country, we need to take politics serious. Politics is a serious job. We should never leave it to the politicians. We should continue demanding for accountability and speaking endlessly as a citizenry to get better.
Thank you very much, Honorable Angelina.
I think that we need leaders, not politicians, leaders doing politics. That is when we'll get a service. But I want to encourage Ugandans, never give up hope. When you give up hope, then you have lost life. There is still hope because we know that there is still potential in this country. Once you raise a negative voice, then you have potential to do what is right and what is good for everybody else. So let's keep hope alive.
All right.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am thrilled. It's been an honor hosting you. Thank you for joining the show. I've really enjoyed the conversation, and I'm looking forward to inviting all of you again to really tap into your wisdom and your insights. I think really hearing from you, I've been inspired, and I now believe, in words of Agnes, that this country is immensely talented. To our viewers, it is a thank you to you for always staying with us. You've been watching Focus on Parliament here at Civic Space TV. Please follow us on Twitter, on Facebook, and YouTube at Civic Space TV. I have been your host, Harris Akamprida. Until next weekend, it's bye-bye from us. Don't drink and drive.